Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Oh no, I have class in 19 minutes. Well, you need to get to class. Don't miss any classes on my account. Hi, hello. Hey, Tim, Jennifer, Sai. This counts as class, right? Yeah, I don't know. The credits don't transfer, man. The credits, I don't think they transfer. Hey, Jason, how's it going? Yeah, welcome everybody. We got a few more minutes until we get started. Got about a minute. I have a script somewhere. There we go. We have chat. I think we have everything covered here. By the way, spoilery pages today if you're a reader of this book. So you've been warned. All right, it's 10 o'clock. So, welcome everyone. My name is Kurt. And today we're going to be doing, by we, I mean me. I don't know why I said we. I always say that. But yeah, going to be doing some pages from the plot number 8, the final issue, I think, series finale. And I've done a little bit of work on these, but not much. Actually, this is where I left off with these on a stream a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. So, where's my glove? Gotta have my glove. Art glove. I look pale. My color off. My lights are too bright or something. So, hold on. Inside out. So, if this is your first time watching me work on this book is unique and very unlike everything else that I'm working on right now, as far as my process goes. Because the artist on this, Joshua Hixson, actually sends over. I'll show you guys what it looks like. It looks something like that. Well, like that, but with there we go. So this is what I get from the artist. We've got our inks layer on top. There's like a texture layer, and it's very subtle. This little canvasy type texture you see in the little dots everywhere. We got some shadows to kind of work with that. The logos for the t-shirts are on a separate layer. Why not? And then there's also a layer of washes, which don't look like much on their own, but when you combine them with the inks, they look really cool. And so I want to use use those heavily. Much of the work, as far as like deciding on values and like a lot of that stuff's kind of taken care of. And so this is good for me because I can focus on palettes and making the book look as cool and interesting as possible and not have to worry too much about the values on the page. And so um, that is where we have left this one off, basically. So what you're seeing so far is really just gradient map. Okay. Where's the gradient map? Right there. So I've got this gradient map on top of the scene right now. And that's tinting, of course, all these colors in various ways. And then I've also got a hard light layer on top that I will be using to tint these existing colors, toward other colors. And that's where we're going to start. Yeah, you made it in time. I was afraid work wouldn't let me. Yeah, you made it, Angela. Hey, Carlos, how's it going? I'm going good. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for your membership, Carlos and Tim. Really appreciate that. So yeah, I'm gonna kind of just pick up where I left off last time. So what I'm gonna do next, I'm gonna grab the script again and refresh myself very quickly. And let's see. I need to double check what I'm looking at on this last panel. Is your gradient map intentionally excluding that window in the top right? Well, it's not excluding it. I just put this hard light layer on top of it. But yes, it is excluding that. I didn't want the outside to be part of the color scheme at all. So let's shift a little bit on all these pages. It should be like that. Yeah. And I have, let's see, somewhere. I need to grab. I might have to go back to number 7. It's not going to help me that much. Anyway, we'll figure it out. Probably, now that I've got the gradient map done, I'm wondering, I think Clip Studio will read that. So let me save all of this, and I'm going to see if Clip will read this gradient map properly. I think it will. I don't like using Clip to set up the gradient maps because it takes too long. It does gradient maps, but it doesn't give you a live preview, and so you have to like change it and hit OK and everything, and then like look at it and see if you like it, and then you have to make adjustments which you don't see in real time, and then change it, like lock it down, and then you see it again. Like it's kind of it's not very user friendly, and so in Photoshop you can see the changes in real time, and so that saves a lot of time. And I think once it's set up, I think Clip reads it okay and it doesn't matter. But yeah, this looks fine. So now I can use reference layers, which will save me a lot of time. I'm gonna put that on there. And that is all going, that's all right. We're all good now, I think. Hey, Kevin, how's it going? So in order to get the local colors on this, and I'll probably kind of fill this in and then ended up like turning it around and kind of toning it down a little bit, but I at least want to get them in here. But yeah, most of this is going to end up kind of muted into these colors, but I got to get them in there first. Oh, thank you for your membership, Mr. Woods. Thank you. Was I super sick last week? Super sick sounds a little extreme. I wasn't super sick. I just didn't feel well. I'm looking back on off panel here. I'm looking back on number 7 because I can't remember what these people are wearing. Let's see. Now I remember. Long overdue. Well, thank you, sir. It seems like coloring horror books would be a lot of fun. I've done a bunch of them. Like it was never like a goal. Like I was, but early on, most of what I was doing seemed to be related to horror books in some way, and it wasn't really intentional. It just kind of turned out that way. But so to arrive at these colors I'm choosing right now, because this room is heavily blue, like it's influenced by all this blue, and so like this character's hair is red, but it's red in a blue room, and so it's gonna lean toward purple because the blue is blending with the red. So I'm gonna lean it just a little bit, toward purple, and I'm gonna desaturate it because that's gonna happen too. And I might not guess it right the first time. Yeah, it's still a little too purple, but so I'm gonna saturate a little bit, add a little bit more red, but it's still not like even this. This is not, fire engine red. It's kind of a, what is that? You can see it's kind of magenta-y, but it appears red on this because everything else on this page is so red. Isn't color weird? Yeah, I don't remember what any of these people are wearing. Okay. From artist to artist, could you give me a tip on how to take care of my hands working on working on pages every day? Yeah, I'm actually gonna eventually one day do a video about that. But the key is to keep your ears in line with your shoulders, like in line with your hips, like as much as possible. Like I'm sitting here, I'm at a Cintiq, which people would swear you can't do good posture with a Cintiq. You can. You just got to get the Cintiq in the right place. Um, so beautiful, I meant. Oh, thank you. Um, but yeah, get as vertical as you can in your chair. Don't slouch. Don't let your chin hang over your chest. Keep your head up, and take breaks often. Every hour, every 2 hours, get up, stretch, walk around, really pull those back muscles. Try to strengthen those. Back exercises, anything that hits your upper back and traps and all that stuff. Even if it's just like with a band or something, work on that stuff because your back gets, believe it or not, it gets weaker when sitting down, leaning forward, and your chest gets stronger, and that's a bad combination. Those muscles in the front get tight, the ones in the back get loose. So you want to keep that balance between the two as much as you can. I learned more about that than I ever wanted to know after a shoulder surgery because of posture problems. So this scene, like leading up to this scene, it's all been very stark colors, like the and with this, I'm wanting it. We kind of reached a kind of a calm point in the action, and I want to kind of give the audience a break here and have them under the impression that what just happened in the previous scene is done, and that the you know bad guys vanquished and all that. And so bringing all the moodiness, not all the moodiness, but bringing some of the moodiness out of the colors and some of the limited palette that was going on, bringing back some of this local color, it tones everything down. It's like, okay, everything's cool, everything's calm, everything's going to be fine. Then when it changes again, it gives the audience another shift there, at least that's how I look at this stuff. Good morning. Hope I'm feeling better. I am feeling good today. I have a mustache hair. It keeps trying to curl into my nose. Didn't you want to know that? and I'm double checking reference from the previous issue to see what these people are wearing because I can't remember. It's been a while since I worked on this book. Alrighty, so we've got some local colors in here. He's actually having like a vision of a previous scene in this last panel. And in order to help sell that, I want to bring that scene's colors back. Because it had a very distinct palette anyway. The particular scene that he's sort of remembering or seeing, or the vision he's having, or however you want to put it. And so I'm going back to see how I colored that page. And that will help the audience remember what we're looking at here. And just in case they don't in the visuals, which they probably will, because we've only seen this once. But anything I can do to help sell that effect. So I'm gonna bring back that palette. Hey buddy, how are you? I'm good. How are you? Where can my editor get in contact with you? You can go to comiccolor.com. There's a form. I think there's a form. Let me go double check. Yeah, if you go to comiccolor.com/contact, there's a form there, and there's links to various ways to get in touch. But yeah, the form's good. It'll email me directly. Or just it's info@comiccolor.com is my email also. Either way. Alrighty. So, but in this panel here, what number is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. He's kind of looking past her into this. And in both these cases, in both these panels, I kind of want to minimize the effect that this character in the foreground, this closest character to it, is having on all of this. So that we kind of look past them too. So I'm going to select all of them like that. I'll go ahead and get these two. Well, we'll do that separately. And I basically just want to get a dark mix of color in here. I don't need it on her. Something like that. Thank you, man. You're great. Well, thank you very much. I don't know that my schedule for the next few weeks is pretty full, but I'm always open to offers, and depending on what it is, um, things can be squeezed in and around things, and the schedules can be, you know, massaged a little bit for small projects anyway. So like I was saying earlier, this what we're seeing in the background, this last panel is like a flashback kind of vision sort of thing that we're seeing here. And so the color scheme on this is going to be really different from the rest of the page. I'm actually going to go to the gradient map and remove it so you can see. How can I look at that? You can't really see it like you can in Photoshop. But yeah, basically by filling the mask there on the gradient map with transparency, it makes that go away, basically. And instead, I'm going to get like a warm... Oh, wait. Wrong. There we go. It was inverted. And even these washes are like aliased on here, so you can I can pick from the washes and adjust those too, or what I'm calling washes anyway. Would you happen to know how to make something hard-edged aliased? I was asked about this before. I've never heard of this before. Would you happen to know how to make something hard-edged alias? I was asked about this, and I have never. Well, if you, at the risk of sounding like a smartass, if you turn off anti-aliasing, that's what you get. No, I'll show you. Um, so aliasing is just what happens at the edge of your lasso or your bucket tool or whatever. So, for example, if I go up here on a new layer, and right now anti-aliasing is off. So if I fill this with a color and zoom up on this, you can. Well, I can't zoom up anymore, but you see how jagged this looks? Can you guys see that on the screen? It might be small, but yeah, turn your resolution up. You should be able to see this. Hey, Masato, how's it going? Thanks for coming by, man. And then I can turn up anti-aliasing like to strong and do this again and fill it. And you see the difference between these two? Like this one is got a softer edge on it. Like it's basically trying to interpolate, I think is the word, along this edge here. So you get this kind of fuzzy edge. I guess I could zoom like that. Yeah, there we go. So like here's the hard edge, here's the soft edge. This is considered aliased. This is considered anti-aliased. So it depends on the app you're using. Photoshop what does Photoshop call it? Feathering or something? Like, or there's an option on like your bucket tool and the lasso tool and filter all that, whether it's aliased or not. Um, and I don't know. It's one of those things I think that confuses people because, especially if they work at like a low resolution and they see jagged edges and think, "Oh my God, something's wrong." But the thing is, like, my lasso is always on, or the anti-aliasing is always off. Like, I want those hard edges because if you don't, especially when you're flatting, I'll show you what happens. So, like, if I fill this with a color, and then I do this again, and I fill this with a different color, see what happened in the middle? Like, those two colors didn't meet, okay? And you end up with this white strip of pixels and mixing colors, and it looks like crap. But if your anti-aliasing is off, and you fill a color, and then I make another selection, and I fill a different color, this is a perfect edge here, okay? So for like flatting and things like that, this is pretty much a have to. You pretty much have to do this. Now, whether or not you keep it on when you're rendering is a personal preference. I personally just leave it, just always leave it off, and it's always the edge is always jagged because you're zoomed up, you can't even hardly tell anyway. But it keeps hello, Mr. Gunn, welcome. But it keeps things easier. Photoshop has both anti-aliasing and like feathering is actually like aliasing on steroids. Like feathering, you can choose to increase the fade along the edge by even more, if you wanted to. But so it is technically two different things, I guess. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Another thing that I do to like make selections easier, because especially on something like this where there's so many selections all the time. Hold on, let me get this in here. I want that yellow. Answered it perfectly. Thanks a million. No problem. What was I about to do? It flew out of my head. Whatever it was I was intending on doing there. I'll figure it out in a second. How big are the canvas size? For Vault, at least, and you can actually see at the. Can you see at the top? Yeah, at the very very top. I don't have my text I usually have up here. There we go. Yeah, but right up here at the top, it's hard to see, I guess. But yeah, at the very top of the screen is 2800 by 4225 at 400 DPI. 400, as we say down here, 400. But yeah, that's what all the Vault books at least are. I color at that size. Sometimes it depends on the publisher. Some of them you work at a higher res. I actually just finished my first DC gig actually, and I can't show it, but I was gonna see. I didn't even notice what size they were. I probably did at the time, but let's see. Does it have? No, it doesn't have. I was gonna see if it was the same size, but yeah. I can't show that right now, or I would open it up. I think it was about the same size though. Nope, it wasn't. 4125 by 6263 at 600. So yeah, that was a little bit bigger. So yeah, it just depends on the publisher. 400 to 600 DPI is about right. Looks like a 70s comic. Yeah, it does. In a cool way, I think it does. All right, so on this layer that I did all this like quote unquote local color, I'm gonna turn all this down a little bit more. I'm just lowering the opacity of that layer, and I'm actually saying that not all of this is on the same layer. So, who did I do on the wrong layer? Oh, I did her on the wrong layer. Let's move this. To here. And that should fix my problem. But yeah, I'm just going to turn down the opacity on this, and you'll notice what it does. It just kind of blends those local colors in a little bit more with the background. Oh, that put on a different layer. That's why that didn't work. Let's merge this. There we go. Now we'll lower the opacity. See? So this is like full strength, and then this is like half strength, and this is nothing. So like, I don't want like the full local color. I just want that local color influencing what's there. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit. I don't know, what, 60% or so? So now those local colors don't like clash with the environment very much. I need to take this, guys. My roof's being worked on soon. All right, sorry about that. That actually wasn't the roof claim. That was the truck claim. Because all the shingles that Hurricane Zeta tore off the roof, as a bonus, completely like hit every surface of my wife's truck. Like all of them. Every panel has scratches from asphalt shingles. That's who that was. Different insurance guy. Wrong company. And yeah, our roof estimate is we're still working on that apparently. But we did have a second adjuster come out, and they did the tell us the first adjuster didn't know what they were doing. Basically. Does this fit? Oh, this fits better up here. Can you guys still see that? Is that coming out on the? Yeah, okay. The endless roof saga. I know we still have blue tarps on our roof, like, and I mean some of our neighbors do too. But, anyway, the bog white back here is a little lost, and I want to bring him back that blue and green is really close to each other. So I'm going to saturate that a little bit and tint that a little bit away from the blue toward green. I don't want him to stand out like a sore thumb or anything, but I want him to at least, I want people to realize he's there. And yeah, this page is looking good. So let's bring in another one. But yeah, hope everybody's doing well. I'm pulling another page in. Hope everybody's being safe. As safe as you can, anyway. All right, let's see. Where's my next page? Yeah, this one's almost done too. Not a whole lot of work left on this one. This one, again, it's that flashback, so like the colors are changing in the first couple of panels. And then he's back to reality in the last few. That's why the color scheme shifts. So I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the last one, except this time, well, you guys will see the whole thing, I guess, this time. So I'm gonna isolate just those base colors that I added in. So if you, what is that button? Alt or Option on the visibility toggle, that will like solo the visibility of that layer, it'll isolate the visibility of that layer, so you can only see the contents of that layer, and that's really helpful when you have a whole bunch of layers and you want to see what's on that layer. But yeah, that's what we're doing here. So I'm going to grab these colors and we're going to put them over here. Making sure the flats is again set as my reference layer. And we'll just fill all this in. And again, the effect is sort of overcooked right now. I'll probably turn this down a little bit. But not quite as much on this one because there's not as much of the environment. So he's not going to stand out quite as harshly because there's not as much blue. Hopefully that makes sense. Oh, he's supposed to be bleeding. I didn't have any of that blood on there. Yeah, he's bleeding. Let's make sure he's bleeding. Yeah, let's see. Did he do those on a separate layer? Yes, in the washes, there's actually some of that color anyway. And the color's not exactly right. Again, because I did it on a separate layer, I can turn down the saturation or tint that one way or the other. So I'm tinting that red just a little bit toward blue because, again, like red and blue make purple. So red heading toward blue leans a little purple. What's funny now is now that his shirt reads more red, that blood, her hair looks purple now. It doesn't look red anymore. I'm telling you guys, color is wacky. It always depends on what's around it. Always. I'm working on roughly scripting the last episode of this season, I guess we could say, of Caveman Color Theory, and I think that's going to be one of the main takeaways, or at least I think so, is that you're never just picking a color. Like, you're always picking two at any time. You might not realize it or not, but you're always picking the color you're picking, and then you're also basing that based on what's around it. So like there's always at least two colors that you're looking at when you pick a color. There should be at least, because like this same red on an actual warm palette is not going to look red at all. Anyway, I think we're good there. Hey, Kurt. Hey, Robert. How are you? Welcome. And thanks everybody for the comments on the last video, by the way. There was a lot of really cool comments. I'm glad you guys seem to learn something. And I've learned I have no radar for like this figuring out like how a video is going to go for people. Zero, even after this much time, because there's videos I've done where I'm like, oh, this will do well, and then no one notices. And there's the stuff that I like throw together over a day or two and put out, everybody loves. So like I give up on trying to like figure out what my audience is interested in. I'm checking the script on this page just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Excuse me. So on let's see, let me shift this around real quick. So on this bottom panel, I'll show you guys the difference here. The difference is subtle. Some of you guys might not be able to see this, but I just wanted to point out, so like in the panel on the page on the left over here, I kind of toned down all the local colors so that you get a little bit of that blue background blending with them. I didn't worry about that here, because if I do that, if I do the same thing, if I turn the colors down all the way, or to about where they were before, it doesn't look bad. Like, it looks fine, but there's not a lot of that blue background to even be seen. And so you can turn that up. You can turn your local colors up a little bit more. And it's blending a little bit less of that blue, because there's not much of that blue around it. So it doesn't need to, it doesn't need to be quite as desaturated as it was on the other panel page. Hopefully that makes some kind of sense. Don't know if it does or not. Last night it was very late, but Brian Level posted a quote, and I think I'm going to use it in the next episode of Caveman, because it kind of falls in line with what I wanted to talk about in that anyway. But it's kind of an interesting idea, it says that man's perceptions are not. This is an old. This is Blake from a book called "There Is No Natural Religion," but it says man's perceptions are not bounded by organs of perception. He perceives more than sense can discover. Basically, it means that like people can perceive more about their environment than what they can even explain, and that makes so much sense with some stuff I've been trying to explain on my channel that I'm totally going to steal this quote and use it in the video. I have a question for you. How do you remain consistent throughout multiple pages with your rendering? This is a thing I sometimes struggle with. That'll come with color and mood wise. I mean, I'm literally picking colors from one page and putting them on the next, and right now. So like, you can kind of remove the colors not matching problem by doing that. Now I don't necessarily, the colors are not necessarily the exact same from page to page, as like I was just describing, because the story might call for a different palette, or the focus on the page might mean something's lighter or darker or whatever. So just to be clear, like don't sweat too much necessarily the colors being identical, because if your colors are identical from page to page, like if person A here's skin is the exact same color on every page, something's probably wrong. Because that means you never made an adjustment to make it stand out more, to make it stand out less, to make it blend into the environment. Like, your colors they should be perceptually similar, as far as like how we see them. Like, we see his hair is blonde in both of these scenes, or light brown, or however you want to put it. It's not that color. Like, if we color pick his hair, the hair is green. Okay, the hair is green because the hair is blonde and is blending with blue, and blue and yellow makes green. Like, so like, I'm saying all that just to say, don't get too caught up in like the whole my colors have to be exactly the same, because they don't. Most of the time they're not. And then what was the other question? With rendering itself, you'll get better with time. Like, you'll figure out a rendering technique that'll work for you, but that kind of thing, it's it can change from page to page a little bit, but color and mood wise, like, yeah, a lot of that stuff is I'm literally just looking at the page next to it and trying to match it up. Like, there's no magic for it. Do you hand pages in chunks at a time, or deliver them when they're totally done? Good question, Jason. It depends on the book, but usually I will try to turn in like scenes at a time, or like if there's a batch of pages that are all one scene, like I might just wait and do all those at the same time and turn them in for approval. Not really turn them in, like I'm literally just taking JPEGs and posting them on our Slack or Discord or whatever, and getting the JPEGs approved. And then, but as far as like you say deliver, I don't really deliver final pages until all the pages are done, because chances are at the very end I'm going to go back through and just kind of do a quick once over and make sure that I didn't do something stupid, or I can't do something better, or whatever. And it's amazing what you'll see, over a night of sleep, And so if the deadline allows it, I definitely try to sleep on the pages before I turn them in. But then the final delivery, I upload them all at the same time. Once I'm happy with them and they're happy with them and everything, I've got an action that I run in Photoshop. So I'll open like 10 pages. I'll open like half the issue, and then run that action, and it saves each one as a flattened CMYK, TIFF file into a specific folder. So I don't really have to do that much. Once everything's done, I click a button and it exports everything. I do 10 at a time because I don't know, my computer would probably handle all 20, but I don't want to risk it. It's a lot of memory. So, but yeah, as far as like for approvals and things, I usually set those up, a few pages at a time, 3, 4, 5 pages at a time. It depends on the book. Now on the Now on the gig I just finished for DC was a little different. That was like a turn every page in as it's done because the deadline was so short. I didn't want to have like, I mean, there was a few cases I think where I sent 2 or 3 maybe, but the deadline was really short and there wasn't going to be a whole lot of time to, you know, to do corrections or anything. And so I was getting them, you know, getting those in early so that I could see what was going on and see if anything needed to be changed or whatever. Good question, though. And if you're new here, you want to support this channel and what I do, check the links in the description. I've got courses on all this stuff in Photoshop, Clip Studio, Procreate, some color theory stuff. That's my plug for the hour. Forgive me. Like and subscribe. What am I doing? We got this page. So the tone's going to shift here. If you read this book, spoilers, okay? Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Leave if you want to not be spoiled. Bad guy's not dead. Not yet. And so I thought about this page this morning when I looked at it. Because this is another one of those pages that, like, the colorist can manipulate how, you know, how much you notice this guy rising up in the background, okay? Because I could color all this with, like, similar local colors as I did here. And, like, you know, they're having their full house moment or whatever's happening here in the story. And he just kind of slips in. Or it's like, do you make him slipping in the focus of it? You know, it totally depends. It completely changes the tone of this page depending on how that goes. We colorists can be manipulative with our colors. But yeah, let's see. They're having a conversation. Yeah, they're having like an intense conversation. They're all talking over each other, which means they're not paying attention. And so I do think I kind of want to paint it this way. At least the first 2 panels, I'm pretty much going to do exactly like I did on page 4. And then panel 3, we'll shift it. And we'll really make him the focus because he is the focus there. And I'm trying to follow the cues on what the artist is doing here too. You know, this isn't all just out of my ass. Excuse me. Yeah, you guys ask questions anytime. Anything you want me to talk about or bring up or whatever, feel free. I'm always open to ideas about what to discuss here. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other pages. I'm going to first just fill in a local color at full opacity. And I'll end up turning this down a little bit before we're done. See, this panel is just getting friendlier and friendlier all the time. Just hanging out here. Just hanging out while this guy climbs up behind us to kill us all. Do you typically unify the colors by laying down a base color and then dropping down the opacity of your main colors like that? Do you ever use a hard light layer to help unify the colors? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, do I typically unify the colors by laying down a base color and then dropping down the opacity? No. That's not typical. It's typical for this particular book, but that's it. Like my process for this book, if you're just now joining, my process for this book is very, very different from all the other books that I do. So like if you're used to following my tutorials and then you're like trying to make sense of what I'm doing right now, it's not the same thing. It's not even close to the same thing. The reason is this book it comes with a lot of value already in the inks. There's a whole layer of washes and things going on, and so in that way, this book is really unique for me. I have kind of gotten away from, in some of my early tutorials, I talked about using like color mode layers or hard light layers or whatever to kind of unify everything after the fact. I don't think the results are as solid as if just like getting the colors you want in there. Like as I've gotten more experience, I feel more comfortable with that, and I'm not relying on like big washes to tie things together very much anymore. I will use like what I would call a color wash is like, like if I, let me change his color first, then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So like if I, like what I used to would have done way back in the day is like done this whole thing all in local color and then like dropped a layer on top, to affect that in some way, and then tried to manipulate that to get what I want. Like I've kind of gotten away from doing that. It's not that there's anything wrong with them, but like I feel like I've got more control doing it this way. A lot of times like those like kind of wash layers and like unifying layers can be really heavy-handed if you're not controlling where they go. And so I try not to. I don't really do that as much anymore as I used to. Someone told me about color layers, and those do the trick for me. Yeah, color layers are great for like tying things together, especially at like a real low opacity. Like if I go in and I'll just do it on this. If I make a new layer and set it to color, and fill it with like a completely different color, it's going to map all the values to that color. Okay. And this can be a unique look in itself, like a monochrome kind of scene, but turning down the opacity mixes then, that color with what's underneath. And so this is, this red is mixing with all those blues and things, and you can kind of adjust how much of this effect that you want. This does a pretty good job of it. Hard light mixes kind of in a different way. Um, people, you can use overlay for this, usually with colors that are close to like uh, the midpoint on the color picker is good for overlay. There's a lot of different ways you can like manipulate the colors in and of themselves, or on the whole. A lot of ways to do that. Hi, Michael. You can call me Kurt. I know it's been confusing, but you can call me Kurt. May I ask you a question about your setup? Do you still use mobile? Nope. I got rid of Mobile Studio years ago. It was without the Wacom Link cable, just a cable. Looking back on that tablet, it was a mistake. Like I think my initial response was good because it was one of the first display tablets I'd ever used. It's like, so it seemed impressive to me. Looking back on it, it was not a very good tablet. I sold it after a year. Like within a year of buying it, it was gone. I sold it for an iPad. And since then, this is a Cintiq 16, 13, 16. What is this? This is a 16. I think. Yeah, since Cintiq Pro 16, technically. That's what I'm using now for this. I still have the iPad and use it sometimes too. But yeah, the Wacom Link sucked. The cable sucked. The whole situation sucked. This situation with the cable sucks. Like, I have a tablet, which you guys can't. It's right in front of me. It's on this little swing arm right here. It has USB-C cables. My computer has USB-C cables. You would think you could just go USB-C. But no, you have to buy a box and about 4 other cables, hook it up to about 12 different places, and then it works. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not much. I really, really hate Wacom connection technology. I don't know why they're stuck in 10 years ago with adapters and things. It's like, just make it all work. But no, the Mobile Studio is long gone. Been gone for years. Alrighty, so what are we doing here? In panel in panel 3, I did the same mistake. Haha, yeah, sorry, man. That with that tablet though, after a while, and especially after using the iPad, is what really sold me on getting rid of it. Was it felt like there was a computer between me and the canvas. That's the difference. I felt like I was working through a layer of technology that was in the way. Like, it didn't feel like I was working on the canvas. It felt like I was working on the canvas, like through a piece of glass, or something. Like, it comparing that to the experience on the iPad was not even close. With the iPad, I felt like, even now, you cannot beat the iPad Pro, I don't think, for just feel of like that what you're doing is showing up on the screen. This Cintiq is good too. I still think the drawing experience is better on the iPad, but I'm not doing a lot of drawing on this, as you can see. Like, this is a lot of just, I could do this on my regular, like, Intuos, and it would work fine. But anyway. I just got here and wanted to know if it's possible to get a summary of what you've done so far, layer by layer. It's there's not as much going on here as you might think. I know that seems like there's a lot of layers, but basically there is here's the inks. Ignore everything below this. They're all selections. Washes, the logo on a shirt. There's some texture. There's a gradient map, and there's some hard light layers on top of the gradient map. That's it. I just got a Huey on Canvas 16. I've heard good things about those, but I haven't tried one yet. All right, so in panel 3, I want to focus on him a little bit more. Bad guy coming up here. So I'm going to turn down. I'm going to turn down the color on these other people here. Just like that. And same thing. Let's see. Yeah, in this panel too, I'm gonna actually, yeah, right there. And I want to brighten this color here. And it looks like he's kind of backlit here anyway, and so we'll use that color again. Something like that. Oh, you're welcome, Akbar. Sorry, I'm dark. I'm going to darken. Yeah, I'm going to darken this section behind him a little bit. In those first two panels, paint some blood on him. I'm thinking. Let's see. Let's move this over here. I want to kind of strengthen this effect, this glowing effect. Not really strengthen it, but I want to shift. I want to add some red in here, I think. Just to yeah, like that red will kind of resonate with that green a little bit more. Because they are complements. Something like that. Alrighty. Time is it? 11. I'm going to stretch for a second. Now would be a great time for any questions, comments, concerns. I love this band. Somebody was asking about exercising and stuff earlier. Get you a big old band like this. It's not like super. I mean, it's big and loose, whatever. But it's good for like. It's good for this. It's good for getting your chest stretched out, and this also strengthens your back muscles that are getting stretched out all day sitting at a desk. So this sort of offsets it. I've been saying I'm going to make an exercise video for like a year now. I can't ever find it. Like, I don't know if there's a good time for it or anything. I should just do it at some point. My audience, maybe I'd do that for April Fool's Day, but it's like real. Get on like a sweatband and some tights and go for it. Kurt Nastic. I'm sure there's all sorts of wonderful coloring puns we could use for that. Probably so. I'm gonna refill my water. I'll be right back. After these messages, we'll be right back. Does anybody remember that old cowboy guy? I haven't thought about that in years. What was it? It was like ABC Saturday Morning or something, or one of those things. All right. I don't know if I get any more. Let me see if I got some more flatted. I don't remember. Complete beginner here. How did you get that dot effect? I didn't create it, but it's probably just a brush or a texture or something artist put in. Okay, I'm gonna skip a page because just the spoilers are too high. Too many spoilers. And I'm gonna jump to another scene. I believe so. This is how the pages arrive when I get them back from my flatter. And of course, I'm not going to be using any of these colors, but that's what they look like. And instead, I'm going to put just a layer of white underneath there, and I will call this paper. That seems like the best name for it. So really everything from this layer above is all that you're seeing. Okay, all this other stuff, this is just for selections. The flats, my flatter also sets up just like a foreground or like a character layer. There's one for the background, and there's the panels themselves. What I really use these for, and I don't use these as much, unless I'm in Photoshop, and I actually need to be in Photoshop for this, but I'll change that in a second. But yeah, I just use these to go and grab, like if I want to say grab the background in the last panel, well, I can like control click on this BG layer, it selects all the background, and then I can go to the panels layer, and as long as the select from selection is an option, or intersect with selection if you're in Photoshop, then I can click that layer, and now only the background in the bottom layer is selected. So it's a really quick way to like make big changes to a panel. But these are just there for selection purposes. You won't actually see those. Wasn't it the same guy who hankered for a hunk of cheese? Was I think so. I have to find. I'm sure they're on YouTube. Yeah, I gotta find those old intros. I remember. I specifically remember when those things would start coming on. You knew the Saturday morning cartoons were almost done, like because that was like the last thing before it went to I don't know, talk shows or infomercials or whatever happened. So I'm actually going to close these though in Clip and open them in Photoshop so we can. The gradient maps are just easier to use in Photoshop than they are in Clip Studio. And we've got some old pages here. We can get rid of those. Actually, I'm going to use these because I think we're back in that same scene. Let me double check here. Yep. This is flashback. All right, so I'm going to go grab the previous pages from this flashback. And pull those in here. My stomach's going crazy already. What time is it? My stomach's going early today. All right, so I'll show you guys. This is a page that's done already, but I'll show you what's happening here. So this is very similar to the other pages. We have a gradient map on this layer, and everything else is just hard light layers above it, mixing in various ways. And so the cool thing about that is, if I bring in new pages, and I'll put these right next to the old one. Come on, Photoshop. There we go. And we'll bring this one over here. And now I can just grab this gradient map from this page and drag it onto this page. It's going under the inks, above everything else. I just delete the mask from the old page so that it makes sense for the new one. Select the gutters, Control-Shift-I to invert the selection. I don't know what I just pressed. Control-Alt something else because I can't see my keyboard. I is way over there. My left hand doesn't normally move at all from the keyboard. And then I'll put a mask on that gradient map, which will limit the gradient map to just the panels. And that's where we're starting. My stomach's going crazy. Same thing here. Yeah, this is one of the only books I've ever done where I can almost, there's some pages I can do the entire thing without ever using a brush. or a pencil tool or anything. Like it's almost all the rendering is almost there already. All my windows are popping up on my other monitor. Sorry, I'm checking the script here. Do I always leave the cats out of the room? That's their choice. I actually I have a little cat door in my office to my office because I wonder if I could find that. Probably not. I have a picture of it somewhere. I'll never be able to find it. But yeah, I've got a little cat door in my office because when the door is closed, they want to come inside. They'll claw and everything else trying to get in. But they just don't like a closed door. And then, so I was like, well, I gotta have a door closed to cut out the noise from out the rest of the house. And so we did a little cutout at the bottom, and it actually looks like a cat. It's kind of funny, but anyway, they can come and go as they please. But now that the hole's there, they never bother anymore. Of course. But every now and then, Aramis will go through there. One of my bearded cats, he'll come through and, walk around and yell at me or whatever. But I don't know. They haven't been on stream in a while. I haven't heard them in a while, so I don't know. They're bored with you guys. Hi, Kurt. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, Mark. Are using a Cintiq at the moment. Yeah, this is a Cintiq Pro 16. It's on a little swing arm. It's like literally just out of frame. Cats just want options. Yeah, they didn't want to come in here. They just wanted to bother me. All right. Actually, now that I've got my gradient maps in here, we're going back to Clip Studio because I already miss my reference layers and shortcuts and all that stuff. So back we go. Maybe one of these days Clip will add CMYK support and I don't have to keep doing this. Or they'll fix their gradient map UI. Either one. Do I have a 24? No, I don't need a tablet that big. I have a 16. I honestly, I think 24-inch tablets are a horrible idea. Personally, just for me. I think my opinion anyway is that It's way more space than anybody needs. I mean, if you're drawing full size pages and you want to, have plenty of arm movement and all that, go crazy. But like, I like the first 6 years of my coloring career was on a 6x8 Intuos, so I got really used to just, everything's right here, you know. And plus, as someone who's had shoulder problems in the past, I've felt like I was doing PT when I was using a big monitor. Like, actually, I bought one of those big Cintiqs one time and sent it back the next week. Like, I felt like I was doing calisthenics. Like, it just, the amount of coverage was completely worthless. At least for me. This is my opinion. People are going crazy somewhere, I'm sure, hearing that the big Cintiq is not the greatest thing in the world. But I think they're a giant waste of money for coloring. I just do. I mean, now granted, if you're someone you're used to working very large, go crazy. You know what I mean? But like, I did a whole year or two of coloring just on an iPad when I was after my surgery, because it was easier for me to sit in my chair and use my iPad. So I get used to like a 13-inch screen. This is 16, feels fine to me. But the 24s are just big and unwieldy, and I literally wouldn't use one if you gave it to me. I would sell it on eBay. Like, I have no need for a massive Cintiq. There, dead horse beaten. It takes too much space on the desk. Yeah, like, and then again, no offense, anybody that's got a big monitor and you like it, that's awesome. But like, for me, they're a bad idea. Like, I think they're bad on shoulders. I think they're bad on, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why anybody needs that much space. Personally. Hold on, I said I was going to clip with this, didn't I? Yeah, I did. And I turned around and opened them right back up in Photoshop. I promise I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. This is what I get for trying to, like, talk and work at the same time. Do you bother color calibrating? Oh yeah, everything is calibrated. I've got a Spider 5. Can you guys? Where is my camera? I got one of these things. It's a Spider 5, and this opens up, and this hangs on the monitor, and this counterweight's on the other side. So it kind of sits on a monitor like this. And one side reads the software and calibrates it, and the other side, well, it's just a counterweight. But yeah, I've got 3 monitors actually. Really, I don't know if this one's calibrated or not, but I never really use it for coloring. But my main monitor and this monitor are both calibrated the same way. Using the same tech thing. But yeah, most of these monitors, I've made this rant plenty of times, but monitors out of the box are horrible for coloring, because usually what they have is that they ship these things from the factory with the possibility that it's going to end up on a shelf in Best Buy. Okay? And so it is as bright as they can possibly get it, cranked up to 100, staring into a light bulb. And then what that does is it gives you a false sense of how bright your colors are. And that's why you see a lot of beginner work and new colorist work is like extremely dark, is because their monitor is jacked up all the way. My main monitor is on like 5 out of 100 on the brightness or something, and I think this one is at like 10 or 15 or something. Like, they're very, very low compared to what they'll do. So that's why I've never understood, like, why the hell do you care how many lumens a monitor has? Like, okay, it's got a jillion lumens, and you can call Batman with it if you point it at the sky. Like, that's cool. It's horrible for coloring. So, I don't ever bother with that with the bright monitor thing. That's a huge waste of time. All right, see if I can figure out what I'm doing here. For when there's a blackout in in the house. If there's a blackout in the house, the monitor's not gonna work either. Um, there we go. So in panel 1, he still is dubious about who this is. And then 2, he's relieved. So I'm actually gonna, yeah, I think I'm gonna actually color panel 1 like these previous pages where he doesn't know who's on the phone, and then his mood changes in panel 2, and I'll do the rest of these a little bit lighter. That's the plan anyway. Somebody asked earlier about being consistent. There you go. I literally copy the color from one to the next. You can't get much more consistent than that. So there you go. Looking to see what color his shirt was. I just realized he's wearing a shirt and not the jacket he's wearing, and his shirt is actually lighter. So yeah, that makes more sense. cooling off this background because it's all so warm. Just adding a little bit of this blue so he comes off against that. And I'll do the same thing on these panels on the bottom. Yeah, I feel like 80% of this job is just deciding, like, should this come forward or go back? Like, in the reader's, you know, in the reader's vision, the reader's eye line, however you want to call it. Like, um, so much of it is that. Alrighty. So I'll spend a little bit more time on this later. I am getting really hungry. I'm going to stop the stream a little bit early today. It's quiet anyway. So, is calibrating a monitor only possible with something like Spider 5? I've never calibrated my screen before. I mean, you can. I mean, there are people that, and before I got the Spider 5 thing, I would just do it by looking at it. You have to. I don't necessarily recommend that if you've never done it before. Because it is something you kind of have to. I don't say you have to have an eye for. You have to at least develop an eye for. But what I would do is, like, I would literally pretty early on. I think one of the first things I ever got printed. I would look at the printed version and then compare that to what's on the page, or what's on my monitor. I would also use like iPads and things like that, and like iPhones, and like have pretty good color accuracy, like anyway. And that's another thing you can do if you have a second device like an iPad or something, is to compare that and to see, like, is the iPad warmer? Is it cooler? Is it saturated? Is it less saturated? You know, that kind of thing, to kind of dial it in. But I haven't done it by eye in a long time. I mean, for my work, and I'm doing all this published stuff, like I don't want to mess around with the monitors not being right. And so I will say the thing works. It's worth every penny. And I mean, they're not crazy expensive, but they're not cheap either. And there's a couple of different versions, and you don't even have to have like the coolest version or whatever. Like, I think I've got like the lowest or the second to lowest or whatever it is. And I think even the software is the difference. So, like, yeah, I don't even know. I don't know what they. Yeah, there's a Express and Pro and all this. I don't know what I. Mine just says Spider 5. I don't know what it is. But I'm always impressed when I get like comps in, like most companies will send you books that you've worked on, and like what's on the page is exactly what I'm seeing on my screen. Like I know Vault and Image use the same printer, and that's pretty much what all of my work has been done on. So I can't speak for anybody else's printer, but I know they do a lot of printing for a lot of companies. So for me, it's well worth it. My colors always look darker when I look on my phone. Yeah, and be careful about that too, because it's only certain phones. Like, not every phone's got a great screen, and there's a lot of phones. I know the Samsungs are horrible about this. The Pixels to a less extent, but like Samsung like saturates a lot. Like when you look at their colors, they saturate the image. Like, so what you're seeing on some phones is not going to be accurate. I specifically mean, I know the iPads have really high quality screens, and probably the high end iPhones too. I'm not an iPhone guy, I don't know much about them, but I know the iPhones have pretty good color. But a lot of times what you might be seeing as darker is actually saturation. Like, that's been my experience anyway. Last question: would you ever go back to working on Intuos Pro? I mean, I use it every now and then, depending on what I'm working on. But like, I don't know why I would. I mean, I don't know why I would go back at this point. Like consistently, anyway. The writers and the line artists give you some direction about mood of scenes and color palette, or do you choose that freely? It's up to me. On all the books I'm on, it's up to me. Like, I can't speak for everybody in every book, but for me, Vault trusts me. The editors there trust me. I rarely get notes even from them much anymore. But yeah, no, they can. They like what I'm doing. They give me freedom to do whatever I want, pretty much. And if something's, if something needs to be shifted or adjusted, we can always do that. It's no big deal. Thanks, Kurt. Really helpful. Cool. Any other questions before we wrap this up today? Happy to answer any questions you guys have. Bon appetit. Yeah, I'll get lunch soon. But yeah, if you've been watching today, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Do check the links in the description. Help support this channel, Patreon, or join the channel, or buy a course, or whatever. And I think that's about it. Don't see any other questions today. So thank you guys. I'll be back same time next week, Wednesday, 10 o'clock Central, 11 Eastern. Like, subscribe, thumbs, all the things. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.